when I'm making these big roses, I like to hot glue the wire into a foam. This is just an egg shape. You can use just a round ball if you like, but I think this is closer to a rose cone, so that's why I use that. So I take the wire that I've already cut and my hot glue gun, and I just put a small amount of glue on the wire, and insert that straight into the rose cone and just smooth it on with my fingers, and that's secured almost immediately and you're ready to go, so you don't have to wait 2 days. So start with a small amount of paste, maybe about the size of a golf ball, and keep the rest of your paste well wrapped up. Knead it in your fingers, hands, whatever, just to soften it up. A little bit of corn flour on the board, and I use a non-stick, that's I think a 15 centimetre or 6 inch non-stick rolling pin, and roll it out. Needs to be fairly thin. If you've got a pasta machine, that's ideal for this. Roll it on about the third or second thinnest setting. You take your rose cone and measure it against your large rose cutters, and it needs to fit inside on a sideways angle, so that's about right. So press that in, move it around so that the edges are nice and clean, and your fingers around it. Into your petal. Just thin the edges. You don't want to frill it too much, just trying to thin them out a little bit. Paintbrush to your sugar glue. This is boiling water with about a half a teaspoon of CMC powder put into it. You can use gum trag, but I find it goes a little bit cloudy and a bit gritty, so I prefer CMC. Put your rose cone, the point pointing to the left, pop it in the centre, and gently ease it around so that you've got a little spiral like that. So then you start with the 5 petal cutters. And if you want to save time, you can roll out all of your paste and cut all of your petals out first and put them under plastic or whatever to stop them from going hard, but we won't do that this time. I'm using the largest one, which I believe is a 10 or 10.5 centimetre. Yeah, something along those lines. About a 4 inch. Go around, take your paste off. That should really get covered because it'll dry out very quickly. Turn it over, run your fingers around the edges. It takes away any rough bits. Nice and smooth. And then use one of your tools to just poke in the middle there. There's a little hole into your hand. And then upside down onto the petal pad. Your balling tool and thin out the edges. Just gently, again, you don't want it to be frilled, just softening them. Then you take a thin piece of foam. This is about, I don't know, about 10 millimetres. It should be a bit bigger than this, but that's what I have at the moment. So put that on top, flip the whole thing over. More glue. On the top petal, just this one here, put glue all over it. and on the petal anti-clockwise 2 down. Glue all over it. The other 3 petals just in a V, about halfway up the sides. Take your centre, push it through the hole in the foam, bring it down and line up where the spiral ends with one of the petals that has been completely covered in glue, and just touch it to get it to hold in place. Then bring the opposite one up that's also completely covered in glue, fold that in one side, fold that in the other, and stretch the petals around so that they overlap. Don't be scared to stretch them a bit, they do have a bit of give. Then you're left with that. You bring that half glued petal from the top here and just secure it on one side and go around the rose. Tuck that one in there. Just use your fingers to press the bottom in. And at this stage, if you wanted to leave this, you can twirl these petals back with your fingers and you would have a rosebud. It's quite easy just to twirl them back with your fingers like that, just your thumb and your forefinger, and you know, you can manipulate it till you're happy with the look of it. Leave it like that. That's a rosebud. We'll put on another row of petals and it will be a rose. The edges. There's an extra step to it this time because this is an outer layer of petals. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it because I think it gives the petals a nice bit of movement to them. You just take a toothpick or a cocktail stick, whichever you like to call them, and you place it down here on the petal and you use your forefinger and you just wind it back like that. And just move around. Do each of the petals. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can play with it afterwards and get the shape right. You don't have to do it at all if you don't want to. It still looks nice. And then you get your foam again, flip it over again. This time, take a larger balling tool as you've got, and holding the edge of the petal with your thumb and your forefinger, you bop the centre. Gives it a curve, a bit of a cup. You go all the way around. Do that on each of the petals. And then it's